Hey everyone, welcome back to the Champion's Mind. Today I want to get really raw with you about something we all face but rarely talk about, and that's failure. Not just the kind like missing a shot or a deadline. I'm talking about the kind that feels like it rips your heart out. For me, that moment was when I got cut from the WNBA. But during my chase since I was a little girl, I felt like my whole world had stopped. But here's the truth. That failure became one of the most important turning points in my life, and eventually the reason why I was ready when I got the call to play in the WNBA again. Today I'm going to walk you through step by step how to dissect a major failure, pull out the lessons, and turn it into fuel for your next big pressure moment. Let's get to it. So the first step is sitting in the pain. I remember getting cut like it was yesterday, and honestly, vividly, I can remember every detail, what the locker room looked like, how the coach's face looked like when I walked into the room, everything. So I had just made the team and I was literally like the last pick on the team. I had to beat out like a veteran. She had been there for like almost 3 years and she had the upper hand on me. So I went into training camp, very focused, very disciplined. I had worked my ass off the entire summer just to be able to get this opportunity and make the most out of it. And I beat her out. Like I got onto the roster, the dream that I had since I was a little girl. And I was so ecstatic, so happy to be on this team because I knew I had put so much dedication and hard work into just getting good that eventually it led to this moment where that was my dream as a girl, was just being in the WNBA. So we're in preseason and I get minutes here and there, but what I noticed was I wasn't ready mentally. It was a different game. It was a different vibe. It was a different business that I had yet to learn. And I wasn't doing my best, but I kept pushing. I put in extra time after practice. I did everything I could to really just prepare myself. And then we got into the season and I get on the court here and there, trying to do my best, and it just wasn't working out. And then maybe 5 or 6 games into the season, I get a call after practice to go into the coach's office. She just wanted to have a conversation. So I remember getting up. There's Brittany Griner on my right. There's Diana Taurasi. She's getting physio from one of the therapists. Everybody's kind of just doing their thing after practice and just trying to get recovery. And then I get called into the office. I didn't know what to expect, but I kind of had like a little bit of a sense that it wasn't going to be good. So I walk into that room, I'm talking with Sandy, and she essentially says, like, we're not winning. We have to make a pivot and we have to let you go from the team. You've been waived. And I remember just sitting there in shock, and everything I ever dreamed of was kind of just taken away from me. So I pack up all my stuff. I say bye to everybody, give my hugs, and just, wish everybody luck on the season. And then I get to my apartment and it's kind of just quiet. And I remember just like breaking down because I had wanted this so bad. I worked so hard as a kid. I sacrificed everything. And the thing I wanted was just taken from me like that. And I remember just being in this place where I didn't know what to do. Like, I didn't know what was next. I didn't know what my future would look like. I didn't even know if I wanted to play basketball anymore. I was questioning everything. And essentially, gave myself a couple of days to really take it in, to process the emotions, to try to figure out what's next. And it was a really tough time. I was really trying to get over that moment and what it would look like going forward. Sitting in the pain is super essential. When I first got cut, I wanted to push the pain away, to move on quickly, pretend it didn't matter. But here's the thing. You can't grow from a failure you don't acknowledge. I remember crying, feeling embarrassed, questioning my worth. And this was so important because failure hurt because you cared. And when I got that, everything changed. Don't rob yourself of the lesson by skipping over the emotions. Sit in it, feel it, name it. That's step 1. I want to challenge everybody. Think back to your biggest setback. Write down every raw emotion you felt in that moment. Anger, sadness, shame. Don't judge it. Just own it. That's where your healing starts. Step number 2, reframe the narrative. After the tears dried, I asked myself, what's the story I'm going to tell myself about this? Is it I wasn't good enough, or is it this is fuel for my comeback? For me, being cut wasn't the end of my dream. It was a test. It forced me to work harder, smarter, and see my career as a marathon and not a sprint. This is really important because the way you frame failure will either chain you to the past or free you from the future. When I got cut, I had 2 options: blame everything around me or look in the mirror. And I chose to look in the mirror. So some of the questions I asked myself regarding being cut from the WNBA was, how can I get better? I knew that it wasn't the end, although it was super painful and it crushed me. I knew there was a lot to learn from this situation. I just had to figure out what it was. So I asked myself specific questions. What did I need in order to be better for the next opportunity? For me, I felt like mentally, I wasn't just able to handle the pressure of being on such a high stage. And for me, I cared a lot about that moment because it was everything I worked for. So the pressure of being on that team actually got to me mentally and it didn't allow me to perform better. So when I asked myself, how can I get better? I knew I had to lock in on my mindset and my mental. The second question I asked was, how can I optimize my performance? I wasn't doing everything I could to be the best and be prepared for any moment that came regarding if they needed me 5 minutes into the game, the last 5 minutes into the game. I was prepared to be useful and helpful to the team at any cost. So essentially, I had to really just lock in on my recovery. I wasn't doing the best job in being recovered, getting extra massages, getting my sleep. I was still essentially being a little bit immature and I had yet to adapt to being a professional in a professional manner. The third question was, how can I be better in case I get another opportunity to play in the WNBA, and what would I do differently? That actually allowed me to get some clear boundaries and have a clear understanding of the things that I needed to do over time in case I got another opportunity to play in the WNBA. So after reflecting on the questions that I needed to ask myself in order to grow, I had to figure out how to recreate a new narrative. The narrative I had that after being cut was something that was painful. So the story I had in my head was essentially that I had lost everything. All the work that I had put in as a child and over the years of being in university was for nothing. And that's why it hurt so much, because I cared a lot about the opportunity and I felt like I didn't get a fair chance at being able to prove myself, and it was essentially taken from me. I had to re-script that in order to be more empowering and serving for myself. So the way that I recreated that narrative was I just wrote it down, that this will be the greatest comeback anybody has ever experienced. And this is not the end of me, it's just the beginning. And I really wrote that down. I read it every single day. And that's when I started to reframe a new narrative. So after I did the reflection and I reframed the narrative, I just got to work. I was brutally honest in how my game wasn't progressing in a way that I was ready to be a WNBA player. So the things that I wasn't doing, I wasn't taking full advantage of studying film. I wasn't taking full advantage of my recovery, whether it be doing ice baths, whether it be going to sleep on time, whether it be eating the right foods. I wasn't doing any of that. So I got super real with myself, super honest, and I started to take advantage of the things that I wasn't doing previously. So I was super disciplined in going to sleep on time. I was super disciplined in what I was putting in my body in order to be able to recover. I was super disciplined on the one thing I didn't love doing, which was studying film and watching my worst games and seeing how I can improve. Everything I wasn't doing previously, I got very intentional about it and disciplined, and I did it consistently. And I started to notice that I was getting better as a player. Write one sentence that reframes your failure. Instead of I lost, write I learned. Instead of I failed, write I grew stronger. That's the first step in reframing a new narrative that will be beneficial to you. Step number 3, use failure for post-traumatic growth. Here's the truth. Failure leaves clues, but the real power comes when you use it to grow stronger than before. When I look back at why I got cut, it wasn't because I lacked talent. It was because there were gaps in my games, gaps in my mindset, and gaps in my preparation. Facing those gaps head on was painful, but it was the start of my post-traumatic growth. This was so important to me because every failure is an opportunity for transformation. If you ignore it, you risk repeating it. If you study it and lean into the discomfort, you don't just improve, you evolve into a stronger, smarter, and more resilient version of yourself. So when I got cut, it literally hurt like I've never had pain or experienced in my life. And I still remember to this day. It's super vivid. I can literally relive the feeling of the pain. And essentially, I just use that as motivation every single day. It hurt so much to be cut from that team that whenever I was going to a workout and I didn't feel like giving my all, or I didn't want to go to practice, or I didn't want to do 2 extra hours of just gilding it on my own, I use that pain as a motivator. And I just reminded myself of how that felt and how I never want to feel that pain again. And essentially, it became my motivation every time I didn't want to do something, every time I felt like I was too tired, every time where my body was screaming no. I used that pain as something that pushed me every single day to grow and get better. And essentially, I did over time. And that's what fueled me for the longest when I was just in this place where I knew I was good enough, but I couldn't prove it yet. But I knew if I put in the work consistently each and every day, that eventually I'd be able to play in the WNBA again and be one of the better players in the league. So after I got cut, I went straight overseas to play for a team in Turkey. And that was my first time playing pro overseas. And it was honestly a big culture shock. It was a lot of learning curves where I had to learn a new coach, learn a new system. They play very different in Europe versus America. So I had to learn a new style of play. And there was a lot of things that I didn't know that I was just going to have to learn through time and experience. And I came in with this new mindset. I knew that I wanted to be a really good basketball player. And what it took each and every day was just extra commitment. Whenever my teammates were done practice, everybody would leave and I would be in the gym by myself. And I knew that this was going to one day give me an opportunity to play in the WNBA again. Whenever things weren't going right and we were losing or we weren't having the results that I thought we would as a team, I took full accountability for being the person to change that. I didn't look at anybody to blame. I looked in the mirror and I said, you're responsible for the success of this team. You're one of the better players. You're the leader. It's on you. So the things that I wasn't doing well, I had so much intention of seeing it and seeing how I could fix it, and then going back into the lab, into the gym, and just recreating the space where I can get better. I was pushing myself. I was just working on things that I wasn't really good at as a player in order to get the best results for the team and myself. So I want to challenge you guys. Choose one weakness or painful moment from your past and reflect on how it can teach you, not just hurt you. Write down one actual step this week and turn that pain into growth. Step 4, be ready and prepare for your next opportunity. The cut could have broken me, but instead I used it as a spark. I went overseas, I trained harder, I improved my game, and I came back stronger. That failure became the reason why I grew into the player and person I am today. This was so important for me because your biggest failures can become your biggest sources of motivation if you choose to channel them. Years later, I got the call to return to the WNBA. And this time I was ready, not just physically, but mentally. The reason why I was able to take advantage of another opportunity to be in the WNBA was because I really did a great job of dissecting that failure, but not just taking it personally and letting it affect my confidence and how I saw myself as a player, but really using it as an objective feedback and being able to look at it objectively and just without any emotion attached to it and seeing all the areas that I wasn't prepared as a player to be able to play in the WNBA. Essentially, I knew that mentally, that's the biggest part that I lacked as a player in the WNBA at the time I first got cut. And I really wanted to hone in on my mentality, being able to succeed under pressure or being able to go into a game when things aren't going well and help the team get a spark. I knew those things were going to be super important. And it wasn't just what I did in the gym. It was about how I prepared mentally for those moments when there was so much pressure on the line and I was only in there for maybe a 5-minute shift, but being able to be so prepared that within that 5 minutes, I was just changing the momentum for the team. So I knew that was the biggest thing. And I did a lot of studying on myself, on the ways that I needed to get better on the court. I need to be a better leader. I needed to be a better point guard. And I honed in on the skills that I knew I was struggling in or were my weaknesses, because I knew that if I got better at that, then I would be able to go into the game, have so much confidence, but also just be able to have a mentality where didn't matter what the situation was, I was confident because I knew I put in the work. So after the season in Turkey, I got a call from the Atlanta Dream to come in and try out for a spot for their team. And when I got that call, I was super happy. I didn't expect it. I didn't even think I was gonna get another opportunity to play in the WNBA. So when I got the call, I was so happy that they had noticed all the work that I was putting in overseas and how I was able to succeed, help the team succeed, and that it was getting noticed by them. So when they called me in and I went into training camp, That summer, I worked like a mad woman, and I knew I had put in the time. I knew I was a better person. I knew I was a better player. So when I got to the trial, I came in with full confidence. Regardless if I made the team or not, I was just so proud of how far I've come, how much intention I put behind in growing as a player and as a person, growing my mindset, that when I got to that tryout, I was able to fully just be myself and push myself. And no matter what that decision was going to be, whether I made the team or not, I knew that I was doing the work to get better and eventually the results would come. Remember this: your failure might be preparing you for a door that hasn't opened yet. Keep growing, keep working, because when that call comes, you'll be ready. Take the lesson you just wrote down and turn them into action steps. For every weakness, create a plan to attack it. That's how you transform failure into fuel. Getting cut from the WNBA was the hardest failure of my life, but it also gave me the tool to succeed when I got my second chance. So don't run from failure. Dissect it, learn from it, use it as fuel, and let it grow you stronger than before. I want to hear your stories. DM me or comment and share the biggest failures you face and how it shaped you. Let's grow together, one failure at a time. And remember, your mindset is your power. Use it. Peace.